right, ladies and gentlemen, today's video is about a book called The Lich Before The Darkness, written by Timothy Stormcrow, released in 2024. It is 160 pages long, and I would describe this as a modern-day mythical fantasy. So a few months back, the author reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in reading his debut novel and maybe give it a review on my channel. So the first thing I noticed was the name Stormcrow. And if that name doesn't seem like a mythical fantasy writer, I'm not quite sure what is. Pretty cool last name, I'm not gonna lie. Sadly, the second thing I noticed was that how desperate this poor guy must be to have reached out to me. I mean, we all know what you're gonna get at my channel. Anyway, I told him that I would be thrilled to do the review. And I guess what I would say is, without further ado, let's hear what the author had to say about his book.
The Lich Before the Darkness is a modern fantasy set in our world, a place where monsters and mythical creatures exist, though they're rare and often treated as if they have medical conditions. The fates of Eiling, Eric, and Maeve are intertwined in a world where the extraordinary is already part of everyday life. Aisling faces daunting challenges in her new role as an investigative agent for the Department of Investigations and Discoveries. Eric, gifted with the ability to communicate with spirits, navigates a world full of ghostly presences, all while learning that his very existence might alter the course of history. Maeve, murdered, resurrected, and then fired from her job, is now forced to confront the demon she was once sacrificed to, all while trying to start a new career. Their stories blend suspense, action, and mystery, offering a fresh take on classic creatures from British and Celtic folklore, and how those beings might survive and adapt in a modern world. The book also features a series of bite-sized stories called Elsewheres that provide snapshots of how society reacts to the presence of these rare creatures. From the first centaur to running the Grand National, to the unsettling fate of children taken by the bogeyman, these vignettes enrich the world with dark whimsy and grounded imagination.
So now, what did I think about this book? And honestly, what I will say is when I first started it, I was a little worried because right off the rip, there's a name of a TV show, and it's called Questions Tonight. And I read this on my Kindle, so it is possible that this is a download issue, so I don't know if this is how it is in the hard copy, but the Q and the T were not capital, which, if I remember correctly, that should have been capital, right? Because it's the name of a show. And I was like, wow, if I noticed this with my amazing grammar and my awesome spelling ability, this could be a train wreck. That early, that noticeable, and then, of course, like, within the first little bit, there was like maybe one or two other little typos, I believe. And I was like, man, this early in a book, how am I going to be kind when I do my review? Because I really feel like if it's this noticeable, it's going to be a bad book. But here's the thing. Even though there were a couple what I think were mistakes early, by the end, I could not believe that this was Tim's first novel. I was absolutely hooked after the first chapter. And my original idea for this video, instead of the pictures, was to do like a little skit with the characters in chapter 1. But I don't want anybody to know what happens in chapter 1 if you decide to read this book. So I chose not to go that route. I will say Tim did an amazing job developing the characters. He's did a great job building the storyline. Kept me entertained, kept me wanting to find out what was going to happen next. And he broke these chapters up in a way where we follow the three main characters for the most part, and each person is a character, or each person is a chapter. So it's like you read that chapter and you're like, all right, well, now here comes Maeve's turn, and it's like, well, I got to find out what's going on there. So I love the way he did the chapters. And then there are other chapters that are called Elsewhere, and basically these are little stories that don't involve the main characters, but they show what's going on in the world because of what is happening in this story. And I will say some of these stories are fantastic, and I especially loved the little boy story. I still laugh about that story. It's phenomenal. It had a very Twilight Zone vibe for sure. So loved it. What I will say is, I know it specifically at 88%. I remember talking to my buddy Graz and saying, there's only 12% left in this book. And I'm like, I don't know how this guy is going to tie this all in. I'm like, if he ends this book with only 12%, this book is, part of my French, going to suck. Because it's just going to be massively rushed. And I'm like, the other option is maybe this is a setup for another book. Because I read this not knowing what was going on. I didn't look up anything. And luckily for us, it is the latter. This is a setup book for another book. But that does bring me to one of my gripes, which I know is a me thing. And that is that I typically don't like starting series when they aren't completed or very close to completed. And it's mostly to do with the fact that now I have to wait for book 2. So I realize that is a me thing. What I will say is the good news is I did talk to Tim through an email, and he did tell me that he is currently working on book 2. He says that it's going to be at least a trilogy, maybe more, but he does promise that it's going to end. He said that he wants to make sure he doesn't let this go too long. Let's see if that happens, whether he can wrap this up in a trilogy or in a 4th book. Personally, Tim, I'm begging you, please wrap it up in the trilogy so I don't have to wait long, okay? We all know that it's about me when we are talking about my channel. So there you go. So who might like this book? And I would say this book would be perfect for fans of fantasy, or maybe mythical creature lovers, people who enjoy series with strong character development. I would even say impatient readers like myself who hate waiting will enjoy this book and be willing to wait for the next book. It was that well. It was done that well. I'll say, Tim, I think you crushed it. Clearly, I'm not an expert in this field. And feel free to go and peruse the comments below for the snarky comments from all my pals. You will get a feel for me not being an expert. But I will say I think you nailed this book. And I can't wait for book 2. Which I'm pretty sure in your email you said was going to be completed before the end of the year. So I know it wasn't a legal binding contract that you sent me, but if the book 2 isn't out by 2026, there may be a small lawsuit. I'm just saying, don't dilly-dally. Let's get to work. Let's get this book done. One other thing I think which is going to make this book easier to recommend is that it is on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have a subscription to that, you can download that for free. And I will say one of my final pitches for this book is if you would like a deeper dive into this book, I'm going to recommend Coffee, Books, and Rain. She did not an interview. She did a review on this. I will say it's borderline spoiler. Not really, but if I've sold you to read this book, get the book and read it. If you're on the fence, go watch her video and see if she's able to sell you on it. I want to thank Tim for reaching out and asking me to do this. When I started my channel, that was one of the things I was looking forward to, was reading and reviewing books that most people won't do. A lot of independent type authors. And I was thrilled when you reached out to me. I want to try to get your book out there. I mean, I'm a small channel, but hopefully maybe 1 or 2 people will pick it up and enjoy it, and maybe it'll start from there. Clearly, when I started the channel, I also did it so that I could get free books. I mean, let's be honest, I'm cheap. But no, that's kind of a joke, you know. But I did actually start this channel hoping that one day somebody would reach out, and since then I've had several do that. So I'm always thrilled when an indie author reaches out to me. I would say that I think you are a really good author. Take that with a grain of salt. Realize where that source is coming from. Again, check my comments below. I guess the last thing I would say is please stop watching this video now and get back to work and finish book 2, please, if you don't mind. So, Lich Before the Darkness. I absolutely recommend this book. And I will finally wrap it up by saying if you made it this far, I appreciate it. I thank you. And I will talk at you all later.